Good morning, it's Don the Idea Guy from dontheideaguy.com. It is Friday, October 21st. This is episode 29, I believe, of Running Through My Mind, the only podcast broadcast from a parking lot. And it's a very wet parking lot today. It's over the past week, it has felt like summertime here in Columbus, Ohio. Temperatures in the 70s. And today, it's in the 50s. And mostly it's windy and rainy and just wet. And because it's kind of a dark and cloudy, dismal day, it's a really good day to be happy that I have Drip Joy as a sponsor, because I get hot coffee every morning right from my Keurig brewer, because the Drip Joy Pods are 100% compatible with the Keurig. But today, let's hear a sip from our sponsor. Hold on. Oh yeah, that is excellent. So this morning I'm drinking Dark Daydream, and I mentioned in a past podcast that sometimes I worry about dark roast coffees being bitter. That is not a concern so far with any of the darker roast coffees I've had from Drip Joy. The Dark Daydream is interesting because it's actually listed as a medium roast. The other thing it says is there are hints of chocolate and lemon, which one I think is just a weird combination. How can you blend sweet chocolate with, sour lemon? But I get it. When I taste it, it is a medium roast, so it's got a deeper flavor coffee. I'm dyslexic this morning. I've got a deeper coffee flavor to the drink, but it is lighter. Like there's this lightness that's in there, and I'm gonna say it's because of the lemon. So it's not a bitter lemon; it's just a fruity kind of blend. But then the chocolate hits you really hard. It's mostly not quite a dark chocolate, not a milk chocolate, closer to dark chocolate. Anyway, man, I love this. I'm going to have a hard time picking a favorite out of the 4 roasts that they sent me. You can learn more about the roasts at dontheideaguy.com/dripjoy. So with that, let me jump into the show, because the name of their coffee roast is Dark Daydream. And today I want to talk about, as we're ending the week and we're going into a weekend, about the importance of daydreaming, about the importance of taking time out to just let your mind wander. That's part of the reason I started the podcast. It is literally whatever's running through my mind that day. And today it's the importance of taking time to think. I had a meeting with a friend of mine last night where we talked about, we've been brainstorming together for a decade. And we were musing back to the point in the late 90s, I think, maybe mid 90s, where we were talking about where mobile technology was going to go. We were both working at a radio station, and he brought up a concept that he just ran across in his notes, that we were trying to figure out a way to stream radio stations over mobile phones at that time, before anybody was doing it. Online streaming was a thing, but you kind of had to have a T1 connection. Who remembers those? In order to be able to broadcast at a level that people could receive. And people didn't have internet on their phones. It was all mobile. There was no data plan. It was all mobile access, and you paid per minute for that. So we had a phone number set up where you could call the number and listen to the radio station. That's how far back this goes. And he was talking about how he had hacked together a traditional radio broadcast board, plugging it into the headset of the phone through the microphone jack, and it was a Frankenstein rig, to be sure, but it worked. We found a way that you could call a phone number and you could listen to the radio station. The problem was everybody had a per minute mobile plan at that point. It would be ridiculously expensive to do it. So then we started talking about doing clips, and it was crazy talk back then, right? And then now everybody has 3 different music apps on their phone. But we were so far ahead of the curve on that point, we couldn't account for the technology. That's why when I talk about putting ideas into buckets, sometimes ideas have to be put into the bucket of, I love this idea, but not now. And you need to schedule time to revisit it. On the other hand, you're never going to come up with those ideas if you don't take the time to go completely out into left field to come up with concepts. I mean, nobody at that point was thinking about getting music over their phone. Not on purpose. You'd get stuck listening to Muzak if you were put on hold, but nobody was thinking about broadcasting over a phone at that point. Nobody was doing it. But we were way out there on the edge, and those are the ideas that came to fruition. If we were passionate about that idea, if we had stayed on that concept, who knows what would have happened with it. I'm also a big believer in commercial creativity, capitalistic creativity, where you want to come up with ideas that you can profit from now. What ideas can you develop to improve your business now? What ideas can you come up with that you can take to the public release and they'll pay money for now? And that is important. It is important. But you also need to schedule the time to just let your mind go crazy and go, what if we take this and we 10x it? What if we take this and we 100x it? What if we take this and we 1000x it? How far out do we go? How far out do we go to reach the fringe? Think about Elon Musk in the electric car. That was ridiculous. People have been talking about it for years and nobody did it. And all of a sudden he does it. And now he's wiring up the cars so that they will actually have the cameras built into them now, so that when the technology hits for the self-driving cars, his cars are already going to have that stuff built into its standard. It's not going to be the Frankenstein rig with a giant, 360-degree camera that you have to mount on aftermarket to the hood of your car. He's already building the cameras into the framework and the design of his automobiles. He's thinking out further. I would challenge you to go even further than that. What's it look like when we do have the hover cars? And cars are a weird thing. They promised us flying cars a long time ago, and we still don't have them. I'm really disappointed about that. But what's your business look like 100 years from now? And how can you cut that in half and do it in 50? And how can you cut that in half and do it in 25? What is crazy, futuristic, flying car talk for your industry? Take some time this weekend and daydream about it. Get comfortable on your couch, your big comfy chair, big fluffy pillows in your bed. Put on some audio in the background. Like listen to, I highly recommend instrumental movie soundtracks, especially the adventure ones. You pick like a Batman Begins soundtrack or a Pirates of the Caribbean, or I love old John Wayne Westerns. You get some of that old school, high adventure, Magnificent Seven kind of soundtrack stuff going on, and your brain can't help but go to soaring to new heights. And just let your mind wander and write stuff down. Make sure you're writing it down. Draw little pictures, make little scribbles, but make sure that when you're done brainstorming, when you're done daydreaming, that you'll be able to decipher what your notes were and take action on them. Look at them. Call them crazy, and then schedule time on your calendar 3 months from now, 6 months from now, to go back and review those notes again and look at them in terms of what's going on in your life and what's going on in your industry and what's going on with technology now. And if it still doesn't work, have yourself go back to it another 6 months, 6 years, go back to it. We could have revisited that mobile broadcasting thing 3, 4, 5 years later, and it still would have been cutting edge. It was still before anybody else was doing it, but at that point now you're talking about mobile plans. Now people can get online from their phones faster, more easily. People were getting broadband in their house at that point. DSL was just starting to flip. Cable modems were coming in. It would have been a more doable idea. So schedule time to revisit your crazy ideas. Maybe it's time to release them from the asylum and back out into the real world. But you're never going to know unless you come up with the idea, and that involves scheduling time to think crazy, and just go crazy with some daydreams. So I'll leave you with that this weekend. Schedule some time this weekend to daydream. And in the meantime, do yourself a favor and get a cup of Dark Daydream from Drip Joy, our sponsor. Really happy to have them on board. You can learn more about Dark Daydream and their other roasts at dontheideaguy.com/dripjoy. Bye-bye.